Vividnectar Podcast, the first interview on here. And I have the Shane Ramos, digital creators and artists that I've encountered back in 2018. And what's up, man?
Hey man, appreciate you having me on here. It's been mutual love and respect over the years. You've definitely been a day one in all this, so appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah, man. It's we were talking about earlier, just reflecting how fast time goes on, and just me witnessing your progression throughout the years, and at the point that where you are now. And before I get too ahead of myself, I just want to ask, who is the Shane Ramos?
Yeah, so I'm a visual artist originally from South Yonkers, New York. Art has always been in my life since day one. I even have pics of myself as like a 5-year-old just drawing on the floor. My surroundings in the household was always creative. My father, he was super into comics, so we would read comics growing up. Everything from Marvel, DC, Conan, Spawn, and within that, he was really into bodybuilding. So he used to draw off of the comic book styles, and that's where I learned anatomy as my basis of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it helped me long term on how to draw. On my mom's side, she definitely knew how to draw, paint it all. She even went to college a bit for calligraphy. She would make dresses for my sister from scratch. And I remember even her painting on our walls. On my wall, she drew and painted Spider-Man. And in my sister's wall, she painted the Bratz doll. So seeing that from nothing to a full-on painting on my wall, I was super amused. It definitely inspired me on what could be done in the art space.
Yeah, definitely. I could imagine, usually just looking at a wall as all right, you got your 3 walls, you get your space in between, but for your mom to look at it as a canvas,
definitely,
and just use it as something to create on, that's fascinating. And then as far as learning the anatomy, the anatomy of body parts, your father bodybuilding, and then of course the influence you got from comics that helped you as far as, with your art, drawing arms, legs.
Yeah, stylistically and like how it was built. A lot of the characters in the comic books, they had huge chests, like ripped abs and all that. So it's definitely its own style. I wouldn't say it's the perfect anatomy, but I do a lot of cartoonish work anyways. So I think it helped me develop my own style within that side of things. So, yeah.
All right. And then stylistically, going through these comics, which superheroes do you usually gravitate to as far as the way they're drawn?
Yeah, I mean, the older I get, the less I really get into the hero space, like the Marvel and DC space. But growing up, I think a huge one was Conan. I'm not sure if you know about that.
I'm not familiar.
Yeah. Also Spawn. I'm not sure if you heard about Spawn.
I'm familiar a bit with Spawn.
Yeah. And then other than that, I think just the Marvel series. I remember Captain America. Just the whole Marvel universe. Spider-Man even. Like the OGs in the Marvel shit.
Yep.
Or even back in the day, like the X-Men series. I remember they even have a TV show that I used to love. So I think as a collective, just superheroes in general definitely was one of my bigger inspirations as a young kid.
All right. And then as you continue to grow and listen to music, how does the music, when you listen to it, how did that go into your art?
Yeah, I believe around 14 and 15 is when I really got into hip hop. Before that, I was in Yonkers, and growing up there, I didn't really have much ways to even listen to the music, because that was prior to the point where people had computers, before iPhones, before all of that, But around me, everybody was playing the real shit. So growing up in South Yonkers, like the home of DMX, Mary J. Blige, you just hear people bumping from their cars, like DMX, Jadakiss, all the Mary J. Blige, was with crazy speakers, you know, like you could hear from blocks down, you know.
Everybody got them speakers booming.
Yeah. So I didn't pick up what it was at the moment, but surrounding me was the culture. And I'd say I remember going to our little in South Yonkers. There's a place called Giddy Square, and it's pretty much a
Giddy
square
Square.
where you could just like shop. They have clothing, they have a store where you get your school supplies. They have pretty much everything there. And I remember as a kid going into Jackie's Kids. It's a clothes for kids over there. I used to always buy our school clothes there. And I remember seeing Tupac on the jeans, on the branding of the jeans. But at that moment, I didn't even know who Tupac was. So I was introduced to people like that before really knowing what they did. But then fast forward, I moved to the South when I was before my teenage years. And during that time, I definitely felt the culture shock. Being from New York and then going to the South in Tennessee, it was completely different. No one could have even helped me understand the cultural differences from there. You know, I always tell people it went from being in New York, being 30 minutes away from Manhattan, to going to the South and 30 minutes away, it's cows, it's
Nothing but
farms.
land.
Yeah, it was crazy. You know, like, and then it definitely was a pivotal point though, because it was more so of a drop off. We moved there just so we could get out the fuck shit, you know, because the streets was not getting any better. The main goal was to just have me and my brother not be affiliated with the shit around us, you know, because it was hella gang violence, you know, gun violence all around. So we went to the South. And during the South, with the cultural differences of everything, I started gravitating toward things that reminded me like home. So when I started listening to hip hop and when I listened to Tupac as like a 14, 15-year-old, I'm like, oh shit, I know this, but I don't necessarily know word for word or the track of the song or much of anything, but I've seen these people before. So I think I gravitated towards the music in that caliber too. But a huge pivotal point of me just understanding hip hop was from Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. That was a super impactful album for me overall. And from everything from the visuals of it to the actual music, it gave, I think, hip hop more value for the everyday listener.
Yeah, it definitely for me at the time. I don't remember the age, but I remember when the album dropped, I was on my Xbox and the Beats app was doing previews of every track.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was just compared to what I was listening to, it's like, it almost rejuvenated the entire genre.
Yeah.
It changed the sonic landscape. Like, this album is revolutionary.
Yeah, definitely. And I think whenever I tell people what my goal is look at the Kanye My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy album. Because audio-wise, it's amazing. I think it's a 10 out of 10 perfection. And then when you look at the visuals behind it, with George Condo doing the artwork from the front and then the pamphlets inside, you start to really grasp like what is possible and what does visuals mean to hip-hop. Because I think if you hand that to anyone, I have the vinyl, and it looks special. It looks, it's a piece of work. It's a piece of artwork, as if you could just go to an art gallery in a fine art space and put it up. And you can do that because George Condo is an actual artist too. So I think building relationships with other artists in different fields, I think is super important. And I think just Kanye over time shows us how much he respects the game, visually, in the audio sense, and everything around.
Definitely. It's funny you say that because right now I look at I just looked up and I have the vinyl sitting up on a little rack and I just looked at it like, yeah, absolutely right. All right. So that transition from New York to Tennessee, definitely culturally, it was a shift. And visually, being from where you were to now is like, there's a lot more animals, there's a lot more land, there's a lot more driving you have to do going into places that affected you, and it made you get more of your influences from back home.
Yeah.
And then when you were mentioning just even, sort of getting the music from hip hop, not sort of getting the music from hip hop, but when you would listen to certain artists who remind you from your home, and then you would get influence from that. And then there was a bit of a shift listening to My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, where it just changed everything
Yeah.
from the way Kanye structured it, everything from the cover art, the way it was handled, and to a point where you could, just the album cover, you could post it up somewhere, and it's amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. And as you continue to listen to music and you are creating art, how's your style as you are continuing to grow up? Did you start with the collage style, or how did you
Yes.
grow?
So growing up, I just had a love for drawing. Like it was just me and the pencil. And this is early 2000s, So
2000s.
that's all I really had. And in that time, there wasn't tablets. There weren't, like not even every household has a PC, especially not in the hood, So as I got older, I started dabbling into more things because, my household, they were definitely helping me in my creative space. So my mom, she would help me paint, watercolor and all that. But over time, I remember my father, he used to be a mover. So he would move different companies in New York. And he once moved Nickelodeon. And from that point, it was probably the MySpace days when he moved Nickelodeon. And he told me, he came back home one day, he was like, yeah, like the next thing, I see them drawing on screens, like computers over there. And like, again, this is early 2000s. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, the next step for you to draw is to draw on these tablets, on drawing tablets or whatever you call it. And it made me realize that, hey, at one point I need to pivot from paper to digital. But that was probably when I was 6, 7. So that was in my head as a kid, knowing that later in life, if I pursue art, I need to get to that point. But growing up in Yonkers, I definitely had a passion for graffiti.
Passion for graffiti?
Yeah, so I think I just love hip hop as an overall culture, because hip hop is divided into 4 elements. It's MCing, DJing, graffiti, and b-boying, breakdancing. And as a kid, I used to love graffiti. It was all around me. I can't get, in my household too, as much as they love art, they weren't appreciating portraits, or you go to a gallery and it didn't really mean much to them when you look at these big name artists. But when I go down the block and I see some really good tags or some graffiti on the wall, we could all stop and adore what someone made. So I think just graffiti was a huge impact on me. And there's even a story my father told me. He was like, yo, if you want to make it big in the scene, I know a guy who used to be a graffiti artist, and he ended up making a font. And some company bought a font, and now he's rich. Rich as in maybe he got a couple $1,000s, maybe $100,000. But at that time, being rich means different from being a millionaire,
Yeah.
So I think my style really stems from everything from me drawing as a kid, going on Google, just drawing pictures I want to draw, and then getting into painting as I get older, but a consistent basis of just having a passion for street art and graffiti. And when I got older in the South, I started taking it a little bit more serious, because when I got older, I realized I don't really want to do anything in life other than what I'm passionate about. And there was a split decision maybe freshman year. I was like, man, I might like this hip hop shit so much to the point where I might want to drop my art side of things because I want to be affiliated with this shit. But luckily enough, I invested in like a $75 laptop off eBay, and I ended up just, day in, day out, just continuously just practicing. I took a couple AP art classes in my senior year, and I had like over 2 hours a day just to work on my own work, doing digital art. And over time, I probably took 3, 4, 5 years and just practice, and that's how I got the digital art. But before me tapping into the digital side of things, I definitely loved collaging. On my sketchbooks and all that, I would collage and I would even use cardboard as a base. So I would make some sculptural pieces off of cardboard because if you cut it with a Zapto knife, you could reveal the ribbing of the cardboard, and you could play around with different textures. And I'm more so on the side of, hey, I'm gonna use what I have instead of maybe buying a 50 to 75, $100 canvas. I'm just gonna pick up some cardboard that's in the trash and make it art. So that
Yeah,
also
using your limits to your advantage.
exactly. So I think that also ties into my love for hip hop because you don't really need anything. It's just you and your hand. Like you a spray can and you can make artwork the same way as my mom just had a paintbrush and painted on the walls. You don't need much to create something great.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm glad to know that about getting the cardboard, using the different textures as you rip it. Because when I look at some of your work right now and over the past couple years, there's a different set of textures in the artwork. It isn't just one smooth kind of color paint. It'll have different. You have multiple different textures on there, and it feels layered and to an extent where it has a depth, feels sort of alive to an extent.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I really do.
All right, and one thing that I enjoyed to hear was the constantly having to continue to work, using your limitations to your advantage, and the consistency you had to apply yourself day in, day out, year in, year out. And that freshman year, whenever you decided, all right, if you're that passionate for hip hop to go all in, how was it once you finally decided that was the route you wanted to go? Was it like a breath of fresh air? Was it like, all right, now I got to go hard every single day?
I think it was multiple things going along at that time. I think it was definitely a fresh breath air, because I'm now doing something different from just drawing on my sketchbook or painting and doing anything physically. Yeah, I think like everything though, it's fun at first and then it starts to become challenging. But in art, everything is problem solving. So it's just another sort of problem solving. I had to get used to everything. I had to understand the capabilities of everything, all the tools and everything. So yeah, it was definitely a learning process. I've been doing this since like 2016, 2015, digital art.
Mhm.
So it took, and now it's 2022. So it's been over 5 years. And
Yeah.
I think what helped was when I was posting artwork from the digital side of things, I would post it on Instagram and I would get a couple likes and all that. So at the moment, I was maybe getting 10 likes, 15 likes. And I was like, yo, like this shit is crazy. Like people are now seeing my work. Maybe some of it is random bots because, sometimes I use hashtags and
Yeah.
it's not real people. But at that moment, I didn't fucking realize, I didn't know anything about that shit. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to continue doing this. And in a way, social media helped push me putting out content. And through
Yeah.
that,
And
sorry.
oh no, my fault. I interrupted. And with that, yeah, I want to ask this: using social media to create multiple platforms for yourself. So you started initially, doing a post, you're getting a couple of likes, and yeah, of course, sometimes there'll be bots on there, but that first like, when it's from some like a real human, it's
Yeah.
powerful because like your art, the content you created was able to connect with someone anywhere in the world, really.
Yeah.
How did you go about using social media for your platform and how did you leverage it?
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I use all platforms I can because I think the biggest point of being an artist is that you're not just the visual artist, the person who makes the pieces, but you're also your own marketer. You're your own cheerleader. You have to be your own businessman, and doing so is how do you get eyes to your work? Because a lot of people, they see these 100K, 200K accounts and be like, oh, why can't I be them? Or why aren't my posts getting thousands of likes? And majority of the time, it's not the fact that your art is less or it's bad. It's more so you're just not getting the attention you need, So you just had to reach out and do the grind so people could see it. I've gone on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, Tumblr, and there's some people I met on Reddit who see my work and I'm like, oh, check out my other platforms. And they're like, I don't have Instagram. But hey, I'll follow you on Reddit. And same thing with Instagram. Maybe someone has an Instagram, they don't have Twitter. So I think there's a lot of people in that sphere of things. So you just have to capitalize off of any and everyone who's willing to, bring their attention to you. And yeah, I think it just capitalize off of every platform you can. Not in a financial way, but like I said, just I think every artist deserves some appreciation. I know the work that you have to put in to all this. So I mean, when you put hours into it, you do deserve some feedback.
Definitely 10,000 plus hours of work, the consistency. And that was a great point you made too, that as much as, recently TikTok has blown up enormously, but before that, Instagram, who doesn't have Instagram? Instagram being one of the biggest, but you have certain users and people that focus on Reddit or maybe Pinterest and understand it's like, all right, I got to post not just here. I got to continue on these other platforms.
Yeah. And I think a big thing is too that you could gain so much of a subgenre niche of things when you post on different places, so if you post on Tumblr, you're not going to get the same people as posting on Twitter, and within that, I think a lot of people like to grow with artists or anyone online, so if you're underground, if you don't have 100,000 followers, people do like being part of something big and seeing it grow over time. Be like, hey, I was there in the beginning, and it's crazy. I think a lot of people get distracted by the bigger numbers of, hey, I want to be at this point, and comparing yourself to other artists, like artists in general, whether you're a rapper, singer, visual artist, you're always gonna compare yourself. So I think don't take it too hard on yourself, and just continue with the grind. All the emotions, whether you're happy, sad, stressed, just put it to the game. You gotta do your time to the game, and that's just part of it all.
Yeah, that comparison, man, it could be a killer, especially when I know I've experienced it. It's like, man, I'm posting every day, I'm killing it, I feel it. And then you just look at other accounts, you're like, damn, but how they got like 100,000 more than me, whatever the case is. And it's important to know that, everybody grows at their own pace.
Definitely.
Even when you feel that, whether it's intimidation or sometimes not enough of that confidence, it's just like, hey, naturally it's gonna come. And a great point that you said, some people will hold themselves back by being like, man, I don't got that large following, I don't have that large of a platform, or I'm not that good when it comes to art. But being able to just start in a position of where you're building, people gravitate to that. And to be able to be part of that process, like you said, it's something to experience. Some people hold on to like, yo, I've been messing with this guy for like 10 plus years. I've watched the growth. It's like, there's something that's special that's built with that compared to the people that, just found out who they is at his biggest.
Yeah. And one thing to note too is that you're not fighting to be in this position you want to be in you're not fighting against people. These are algorithms that you have to fight against. And finding what works for you. So that's even less of a personal take, I believe, like it's not as if you're going to go to college and you have to get checks off from these professors. No, it's not like that. It's literal robots pushing out random shit to the viewer, So as personal as it feels, it's not very personal when it comes to growing on social media at times.
Yeah, these algorithms, man, sometimes they just, like you said, it isn't even the people. It's just, hey, the way the platform's being geared or built, it's just not going to be in your favor. And so to go on to my next one, your account recently, you lost your old account earlier in the year.
Yeah.
And you've had to restart in this one. And, you've been posting on the gram for about 4 to 5 years. How did it feel to have, your previous account deleted at that point?
Yeah, I think the worst part of it is that I never got answers, not like clear answers or what post triggered something to get my account deleted. But like everything, like if my back is against the wall, I'm gonna stick with me. I'm gonna be 10 toes down and just continue to do my work. Just like everything else, if anything bad happens, I'm just gonna put to the game. All this shit is passion driven, so it is what it is. This is not going to stop me. I've been through worse shit in real life. So it's just part of the story. And it definitely hurt me maybe for a week. And I'm like, all right, back to work. You know, like what else can I do? I can't just
That's
sit
it.
around.
That's it right there.
You know, so I think, yeah, like I said, it's like, like a lot of the moments you're gonna have a lot of highs, you're gonna have a lot of lows when you're in any business. And when you're trying to make your own entity, you're gonna have more lows and highs. So I think just how bad do you want it? You know, like, are you willing? There's a lot of people who's gonna quit maybe the first hiccup, the second obstacle, maybe it's a 10th obstacle, but they're gonna. I've been through hundreds of thousands of fuck shit throughout my career, and it is what it is. I'm gonna take it for what it is. Maybe I could learn something from it. You know, or something I could learn something from it. So, I just take everything as a learning experience. For me, if I could regain everything I once had and surpass it, that means I have some sort of sauce. You know, like I know how to do this. If I could do it twice. So I think it just gives me a better reason why to strive way past than what I originally once was at, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then for those of you guys that are listening, about the beginning of the year, he had his original account deleted for no reason. And then, you know, like you said, it was about a week, it hit you hard, but then you went right back at it. And not only that, but you saved, I would like to say you saved all your art that you would post on Instagram, correct?
Yeah, I mean, everything, you know, is whether it's in my phone, my laptop, etc. It's still saved, but the bad part of it all is that the Instagram is so heavy on the dates and you can see your growth over time. So I think at the moment I had like 1,500 different posts. So 1,500 different pieces. And it's hard to go back and remember every single one, you know? So yeah, I have everything, I think, but I wouldn't even know if I don't have any because there's so many.
Yeah, and one of the things I love was to see the comeback, because like you said, once you came back, I remember seeing new pieces and old pieces. And it's like, man, if people didn't think they were eating enough on content, now we got about 4 or 5 years of worth of content consistently being posted. You're able to see what you're doing right now, what you've been doing in the past. And this is for anybody out here who's a creator. Save your work.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you know, these platforms use them to your leverage, use them for your marketing. But if anything goes bad, you got to be prepared for it. And I was happy to see new account. We back at it. And, you know, like you're saying, we ain't sweating it. We've been through a lot. We're going to continue to post and we're going to continue to keep growing and just do what you got to do.
Yeah, man, it's all love. And yeah, it's just that the grind never stops. You know?
Definitely. Yeah, like you said, if you really want to get what you want, if you want to get what you dream, what you want to set for your future, it's probably going to be the hardest thing you're going to do in your life.
Yeah.
And you're going to have everything thrown your way and you just got to keep on swimming.
Yeah, and the one thing I want to say too is that as artists, as content creators, there's going to be new people following you on a daily basis, you know? So when you repost, I'm all for reposting other work. Obviously, don't do it every day and don't repost the same piece 5 times a week, but there's gonna be new people who see your shit that you know that would love a certain piece that you made 3 years ago. I post some pieces that are old, and the same people who've been following me for years, they didn't know that's even an old piece because I made so much to the point where, as an average viewer, they're not gonna really keep track on everything I've done because also at the same time the algorithm changes. If you post, it might not be in their timeline. So I'd say recycle some of your older posts and like keep them alive because there's new eyes that haven't appreciated it just yet.
Definitely repurposing your content, reusing it. And like you said, we ain't got to post like 5 times in one day in a week, yeah. But those new eyes, almost like, you know, the way TV shows used to be, like when a new episode dropped on something, it's not going to be shown once.
Exactly.
You know, you're going to see it again like 3 months later. They're going to do the whole season. You're going to rewatch the whole season. So definitely being able to repurpose your content, reuse it, and just continue growing with that as well. Now, as far as, you know, your progression all the way up to this point, the social media aspects of it, let's talk about a little bit about music, man. Let's talk about into the albums. So, you know, a large amount of your art being posted, of course, is artists, hip hop artists. And what are some of your favorite hip hop artists right now?
Damn, that's a heavy question because so many people out right now.
It's
Um,
ridiculous how talented so many people are right now.
yeah, I'd say album wise, I think album of the year for me is Kendrick.
I knew it, missed him around the big steppers.
I think that shit hit so many spots in our culture that don't really get talked about. Big up Kendrick, man's the GOAT. I'd say also to contender for the album of the year, I think The Game. He dropped an incredible album, in my opinion. Going in, my brother, he was like, yo, The Game's dropping tonight. I'm like, all right, I'm not trying to listen to that, to be honest. And then I listened to it. I was like, what the fuck? That shit crazy.
Dramatic, right?
Yeah, I was surprised how good it was. And all the features he had, crazy. I don't know. How do you feel about the album?
I still haven't listened to it, man.
What?
It's been on the back burner. I've been debating it. I was just like,
I feel that. He had some heaters. He got Ice-T on it. 5 Foreign. Got Pusha T on it. Crazy.
Push, man. Freaking Coke King right there with the bars. But
Yeah.
you know what? I'm happy you're loving it that much. I'm going to push myself to check it. I don't got anything against The Game. It was just one of those albums I was like, if I listen to it, I'll listen to it. If I don't, I don't know, I could sort of live without it.
Yeah, it's definitely a long album though. So I think it's like over an hour long, an hour and 30 minutes. So there's a couple songs I'll skip, but I'd say just one day, do a full listen and see what you think.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure because I want to say he's independent, can't remember, but it's just like, hey, you gotta get them streams.
Yeah.
Good quality tracks as well of getting the streams. I see what The Game's doing. But to go back to Mr. Morale, the Big Steppers, man, it's crazy. Us waiting damn near 5 years for the album to drop, having the Heart Part 5 right before. Yeah, I was just like, I remember the first time I watched it, the first night, I'm like, oh man, babe, this is about to be crazy. I'm talking with my girl. And then hearing Kendrick Lamar rap from the perspective of different people, seeing the CGI face change up, I was like, what's going on here?
But I feel like only Kendrick could have done that. I think in any other way, if you change the face from Kendrick to Nipsey, I think it would have been, I think if it would have felt sour if someone else did that. Because with the history of Nipsey and Kendrick, like they were taking the West Coast hand to hand. Him, Kendrick, Nipsey, YG, like they represent the West. And seeing that coming from a heartfelt place and pretty much talking to the culture overall, I think it was an important thing to do.
Definitely. And one thing that it reminded me of whenever I seen Kanye's face for Nipsey, it reminded me of Mortal Man on To Pimp a Butterfly. Whenever he's having that sort of interview with Tupac, not sort of, like the way he made the track be like an interview with him and Tupac, and then seeing him rap with Nipsey face, I'm like, I got that exact kind of ambience from it.
Yeah, I think the whole track was definitely more so on like the To Pimp a Butterfly type of vibe, which I was not expecting because we just came off of Damn, and I thought maybe he trying to go for the hits again. Because at that time when Damn came out, everyone's like, oh no, Kendrick, he's not better than Drake. He got no hits. He got no radio hits, But when Damn came out, almost all the tracks were probably on the radio,
Man, when Damn came out, every track, he didn't even cop out of his own artistry. It's like, nah, I'm Kendrick Lamar. I'm going to make my music my way, and it's going to chart at the same time.
Crazy. And he got hella numbers. That's why when looking at Damn, I thought he was going to sell way more this time. But I realized it's a little bit more of an artistic album. For some people, it doesn't have enough replay value, which I understand. But I think as an artist, you need to understand that this is a necessity for our culture. Once we have, hip hop right now is so scattered, not necessarily in a bad way, but there's so much going on, and having that, I feel like Kendrick at this point is an OG in this shit. He's been doing this for so long. He got pointed by Dre, Snoop, and everyone. There's not many people in the game who get those cosigns, So I think he, even with the album cover with him in the crown saying, I'm not your savior, I think that's such a bold statement when everyone in hip hop wants to be the king, who wants to be God, So again, big shout out to Kendrick. definitely one of the GOATs.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. I was on board with you there too. I was like, man, this is gonna sell crazy. It didn't sell crazy, but just being able to appreciate the music, appreciate the art. And I've noticed a lot of Kendrick pieces coming from you, Mr. Morale inspiration. And I just love seeing the pieces, from enjoying the album, from seeing you create those pieces. So when you're in that process, is there like a specific song in mind, or is it just like based on the album cover? How does it work?
I think the beauty of this all is that whenever I make pieces for certain artists, I listen to their music, their whole discography, you know? So I feel like I'm really in tune in what I'm creating. And whenever I make these Kendrick pieces, I go back to the album. And in a way, it gets like tiring, because as much as I'm listening to these bars and all that, I still think back on my old life, or my life now, you know, and all the times in life, all the hardships, etc. You know, I mean, when I was smoking a shit ton, I would just be smoking, listening to music, and creating art. And that got me in a specific emotional state, if you will, you know? And I think that's the thing with hip hop, is like some people might be like, from the outside in, be like, oh, they're only talking about this, this, and that. But it's like, yo, you see these kings who come from nothing, who was counted out in the first day that they were born. And to see them, you know, change the modern world of things, from the way people dress to the way people talk, I think that's a win. You know, like that's some real king shit. You know, prevailing through all the bullshit. So I think hip hop just speaks to everyone who, you know, who've been through something. And yeah, I think it's, yeah, when I make these pieces, at times it gets emotional. Yeah, I'd be feeling for what they've been saying, word for word, bar for bar. So yeah.
100%. I'm right there with you. There's certain tracks that it's just like, whether it's through certain events on my own life that I could relate to, or even just the influence coming from it. It's like, man, hip hop doing the best genre in the world. Some of the most creative, amazing projects, songs. And going forward from here, let's talk about some of their collaborations, or some of the work you've done with major businesses, from the likes of Netflix, Reebok, Rocnation, as well as having cover arts for let me restructure this. Doing your collage art for the likes of Netflix, having it for the Platinum Plague of Halsey's album, and as well as Warner Music Group, Foot Locker, and even having your own book covers. How do you handle the business, man? How are you able to, you know, get all of this happening?
Man, at times I'd be looking back and I'm like, damn, how did this happen? You know, but a lot of times you have to take it day by day. You know, and there's a large percentage of time where, like, all right, I'm going to be posting every day, you know, be on my grind so people could, you know, find me. And then there's times where everyone hits me at the same time. Hey, we need this, we need that, we need this, we need that. And you just have to take it day by day. And I mean, as a kid, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with these corporations and just make some sort of an impact. And it's just, I'm incredibly thankful and grateful, humbled, all the words that describe grateful, you know? And yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work though. That's the thing where it's like, some people from the outside in, I don't really speak too much on like the downs of it all, but trust me, like, this shit is a real business. And with that being said, you know, like, you gotta sacrifice a lot. You know, there's times where like you can't link up with no homies. You can't have a fun time. You can't go out. You know, you have to stay up 24 hours. There's days where I stay up 48 hours. You know, two
That's
days.
that hustle right there, 48 hours.
Exactly. So it's like, you need this shit is way. And I think a lot of people in our like hustle culture in America right now, people always be like, yeah, you always have to be on that grind. And as much as I relate and I understand how of a necessity it is nowadays, I think you have to do it in a way where it doesn't hurt you. You know, I think I went through a lot of downs in this business shit because I dedicated my whole day or my whole life into one thing and just putting out content, putting out artwork. And I did not even think about my health. I wasn't even eating at one point. You know, I wasn't sleeping. And with all that together, you're gonna fuck yourself over. So I think the smart way to go about it is finding some sort of structure. You know, like, make sure you do what you gotta do, but also your health comes first. Because if you get sick and you have all the opportunity to do what you need to do, you can't do it because you're sick, you know? So I think a big part that I'm still learning is to find a schedule. Try to wake up at a decent time. Make sure you drink a lot of water. Make sure that you get food in your system, exercise, so you could really, really, really take advantage of what is there and what's to come, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Glad you mentioned, the hustle, the side hustles, the mentality to just continuously work, work, work. But if you don't set some time for yourself, that burnout's going to catch up. And depending on the kind of burnout, that could really be detrimental to your lifestyle, your health.
Yeah.
And so while you're going through this, so for example, going on My Block season 3, seeing your art on the billboards, seeing it on the Times Square, man, how did it feel? How did it feel?
Man, it felt a whole bunch type of things. Cause I think a lot of people, it's like, hey, do you celebrate when you see shit like that? And as much as I want to say yes, before that, it took like 4 months to really get that done. Cause I did the poster, I did the billboards, I did what you see in app and Netflix.
On the Netflix Twitter, on the Netflix homepage.
Literally everything.
I don't want to cut you off. I remember waiting for that season. I look at the art, I'm like, yo, that looks real familiar. Like, that looks exactly like, and then I go on your page, I'm like, what?
Yeah, man. That shit was hype. I appreciate all the support too. Like, that was definitely, like, I feel like as much of it as a win it was for me, a lot of people consider that a win for the community too. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because, being from South Yonkers, there's nothing there, bro. Like, like, you either sell drugs, get into drugs, you get in some, you get in some gang shit, like, if you look at the people who came out of that, is DMX, Mary J. Blige, The Lox, Jadakiss, it's like, there's not much there. And that's the sad part. The saddest part is that there's so many cities like that in America, around the world, so I'm not the only one who understands that. But being able to go to the city and see the billboard in Manhattan, in Times Square, with my artwork attached to that, made the South Yonkers kid proud, and also doing it into the effect that there's 5 brown kids on the poster. When you talk about diversity in modern day, everywhere at this point, like, you don't really see representation like that. So I think it's just important for people who was part of that show, also for a whole bunch of cultures that, haven't been seen and haven't given that limelight that they deserve.
Definitely. It's inspirational too, because like you said, for that young kid right now in Yonkers, depending on what they're going through, what they have to deal with in their life, being able to look up and say, yo, somebody else, there was another kid from Yonkers that was in a similar situation like you, and look what they've been able to accomplish, and don't let your, what's going on right now stop you from the future.
Yeah, and I even got on Twitter, someone's like, oh, I'm from Yonkers too. And I'm like, damn, that's crazy. See, those are the wins I want to count. I don't give a fuck about the money. I don't give a fuck about all the numbers. But seeing the kids who grew up in the same place I grew up, being, yo, I'm from this place, even though it's not the best, that is what pushes me forward.
Definitely. Love to hear it. And yeah, so, of course, being able to schedule yourself, have the discipline, not to experience burnout, and knowing that you have to put in the 24 hours to 48 hours is something that takes, a lot of work. It's incredible. The tenacity needed to continue to do that day after day. It's almost a superpower, man. So I just want to give you your flowers for that again. And then, not just specifically on My Block, but I've seen that you've even designed book covers. We're Better Than This, Elijah Cummings, going from there, When You Look Like Us, Pamela and Harris. And I saw on the reel you going into the bookstore, and it's just like, yo, you're looking at these books. They have your art in them as well. And it's just, you've been able to not just go to a particular niche as a digital artist, not just, hey, we're only going to be posting for only like the gram or only for digital stuff, but to have it on a book, to be able to see it on billboards. It's impressive, man. It's impressive.
I appreciate that a lot, man. Yeah, I mean it's still crazy to me. You know, like the books was the first thing I seen in store that I made, and it's crazy because as a kid I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get my shit in these stores, and I really want to make my work seen, and now being able to go to a Barnes and Noble, Books a Million, even being sold at Target, Amazon, all over, it's like damn, like shit's crazy. And seeing that the some books that I've made the covers for are in certain curriculum, so like they're in libraries and all that. And again, having some sort of diversity in the books is a huge win. You know, like I also you mentioned the Disney piece I made recently, and that's also for another book through Disney. So it was a book deal,
Oh,
and
wait. Let's slow down a bit. Let's slow down a bit. I didn't know that yet.
yeah, I haven't
Yeah.
announced
So,
it yet.
okay. So do you want to do, is this like the announcement for it?
I guess so. I guess so.
Oh, all right. So the Shane Ramos has a Disney project in the works for 2023, which is
A book cover.
a book cover. All right. And but by the way, that's amazing. I remember seeing the announcement for 2023. I'm like, damn, anticipating what could it be? Like, when it comes, when it comes. So another book cover for Disney.
Yes, yes, yes. And I think this is a little bit of a. It's definitely a special book because I think when we're talking about diversity and how important it is to have black and brown figures on our books and our everyday representation, this book, the main photo, the focal point is a black little girl. You know,
Mhm.
so a lot of my other pieces were like boys and all that, but having a girl as the focal point, I think is super important, and I'm super happy to be able to work with Disney on that.
Man, that's exciting to hear. I love it. Definitely being able to see, because I know for me, my background is Puerto Rican and
Yeah,
Dominican.
I
So
knew
a
that.
show,
I picked it up. I was listening to you talk about Bad Bunny. I was like, yo,
Bad
this
Bunny.
this this dude either Puerto Rican or Dominican.
Yeah, I'm both. I'm both.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we could get to a little quick Bad Bunny pocket because I remember seeing you on Bad Bunny's. He passed a certain milestone, and I saw you posting on the story. I'm like, you listen to Bad Bunny too. We loving it. Un verano sin ti. How are we feeling about the album and how he's been able to just climb to the top, being a Puerto Rican artist?
Man, I have so much love for Bad Bunny. You know, not gonna lie, growing up, since I moved to the South, cultural differences from the South in New York was definitely a task that I had to deal with. Or when I went to the South, being Puerto Rican, they think if you're either Dominican, Puerto Rican, Mexican, or anything else, they think you're Mexican. So having everyone just see me as something I'm not, even though we're all Latino, we're all brothers,
Mhm.
it's like you're taking away all my culture. And like we have so much of a cultural differences within the Latino space, and all of it is beautiful, but there's differences,
Mhm.
so I think I had to relearn what I am, like because like I said before, it was definitely like a drop off. So when I moved from New York to the South, all the changes and all the different differences. My parents did not really speak on it. It was more so, hey, this is the new lifestyle, get with it,
Yeah.
So I had to find myself again, and through that, everyone's saying, "Oh, you're fucking Mexican. You're not a Puerto Rican. They don't know what Puerto Rican is." I think I had to learn the ins and out of what is my culture. Like what do we stem from? Like we are as Puerto Ricans, we are from the indigenous people, the Tainos, and
Mhm.
then the black slaves that was brought to the island, and with Spaniard colonizers. So we're a mix of a lot. So I get that people might not understand what Puerto Rican is, and when I was younger, I wouldn't be fully comfortable playing Spanish music in
Mhm.
the place I'm at, because in the South they're really racist. Not gonna lie, like that was my biggest problem with the South. And if you play Spanish music loud out there, you're gonna get some eyes. People are like, yo, what the fuck is going on? What is this? And so it's now fast forward seeing Bad Bunny doing what he's doing. Like I could put fully, I could bump this shit and not feel a certain type of way. Cause also he made it popular without taking the integrity out from the music. You know?
And he kept the integrity in there.
Exactly. He said, yo, I'm going to do Spanish music. I'm going to speak Spanish and continue with it. I don't need to speak English to make this shit hot. And that's so commendable. You know, I think a lot of people, they want to go the fast route. Be like, yo, let me take away part of me to get to a certain place. But if you solidify who you are and what you believe in to the very top, yo, like the respect is unmatched.
Yeah, that's another important thing, especially, you know, whether it's on business, whether it's on these platforms, but just staying true to yourself and, you know, owning up to your heritage and just, you know, having it on full display. And so, you know, definitely going from New York to Tennessee, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a cultural shock, and with the different labels they would place on you, it's like, no, I'm not Mexican, I'm Puerto Rican, and then rediscovering your heritage. So how was that process like, learning more about your history?
Yeah, it was definitely like a slow burn. Cause like I said, when I was in New York, my school was full of Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, you know, there was black kids, and then on the other side, I went to school with Polish kids. And like more so the European side of European immigrants. Okay. So it was definitely diversity. It was, you know, that was prevalent there. So at the time, I'm sure there's racism around, you know, and of course being in the hood, there's underlining points of how that racism does exist, you know. But at that moment, like being a kid, I didn't even like, race was so abstract at that point, you know. Mm-hmm. But flip side to the South, like little kids are taught in their houses about these crazy rhetorics, you know, and that's more so part of the Southern culture, you know, that whole Southern pride shit. Like that's a real thing. And there's a lot of things that people don't consider racist because it's super bizarre to break down. Because, you know, they might be saying jokes and be like, oh, yo, I'm not a full racist, but not realizing that what you're saying ties into stereotypes. And those stereotypes are hurtful for certain groups. And with, you know, there's a whole spiral of why it's all bad. But they don't want to see it and they don't want to hear it because they're so stuck in one way of thinking. So,
that mindset, oh, this is how I came up. This is my history. So I'm not going to change it for nobody.
Exactly. And as much as we are a minority in the grand scheme of the country, in the South, you're a bigger minority, you know? So, I mean, it's crazy. When I was there, when I was working, maybe around, I'd say junior year, like across like the county, people would be putting up signs saying, make America white again.
Oh, man.
And it's like, yo, like,
tweaking.
Yeah, it's like, yo, as a Latino kid that everyone thinks I'm Mexican and everyone who's a minority out there, like, what do you expect from them? And I remember even telling my manager that, who's also a white guy. I was like, yo, you see this shit? And he's like, oh yeah, that's fucking awesome. And I'm like, what? Yo, I was like, what the fuck? Like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, yo, like, they're so, they don't want to hide this shit either, you know, about like the problems in the South. So I think that's a huge bone I gotta pick with the South and me being there, is that it's so racist. When people are like, oh, yo, how's the South? The first thing I say, it's racist. Mm-hmm. You know, so not to get too political, you know, like.
Nah, that ain't good. We keeping it real, man. We're not really talking about.
But I feel like, sorry, but yeah, I feel like being a Puerto Rican, being a minority, it's already political. You know, like just living, existing is political. Doing good is political. So.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, you know, technically anything can get political, but it's keeping it real because it's your experience, you know, going to Tennessee and, you know, there's people that they stupid. They can be, whether it's through the negative stereotypes, any kind of offense, and, you know, having to navigate through these landscapes and having to discover yourself, not discover, but know more about your background, double downing on it and continue to wear it on your sleeve is a journey. It's definitely a journey. So whenever I see your work, man, whenever I see your work, whether we talk about billboards, where we talk about books, it's like, yo, that's one for our people too.
That's love, bro.
That's one for our people too. Like, we really out here, we really doing it. We don't gotta fit like a certain niche. We don't gotta whitewash what we gotta do. We could wear it on our sleeves and we still gonna be rocking with it. Now, for me, I live I lived in PR for a bit when I was younger. Then I
Oh
moved
shit.
to I moved to the O in Orlando. And originally, I ain't know no English. I eventually learned how to speak English. I was listening to Spanish music, but then I gravitated to hip hop. And I would like to say, at least the part that I was in East Orlando, I didn't experience much negative stereotypes or racism. I like to say there's a good, definitely people are listening that they know where we are. Yeah, over here there's a good amount of Hispanics, man. We taking over, but there will be certain instances in Central Florida, depending on where you go. Yeah, you probably wouldn't want to be walking near that house. They're a little racist. I probably had one real negative experience when I was younger with my brother, where we were passing out pizza flyers for a pizzeria. We go knock on the house, and then the first thing, two elder white folks, they come out with the gun saying, "We don't like your kind, get out of here," which was, that was definitely a culture shock.
That's
but
crazy.
One thing I could definitely say, growing up here is that I'm grateful that I haven't really experienced anything negative aside from that. And that most, like 99.9% of the, white people I've engaged with have been kind and loving. And, ain't nothing been too crazy, but, at the same time, it does exist out there.
Yeah.
And, we got to do what we got to do regardless if people rock with it or not.
Yeah. And also when you talk about Orlando, I think the biggest population for Puerto Ricans is New York. I mean, other than Puerto Rico is New York, and then it's Florida. So
Damn
like
straight,
Miami
man.
and all that. So yeah, that's a big thing. And when talking about racism, I remember, so I got kicked out when I was 17, and I had to try to get what I needed to do just to survive. And I was trying to get this apartment from this one older white man, and I was trying to get it with my homie, and he's mixed, and he wouldn't let us get the apartment because he was like straight racist. I remember my brother. The thing is, so I'm Puerto Rican and I'm also Swedish. So my father, he was born in the Bronx. Grew up in the '60s, and then also my mother, she's straight from Sweden. She came over here probably in her like 30s, and then she lived in Yonkers for like 25 years. So she's still a New Yorker, but yeah, it's my brother, he's a little bit lighter than I am, and he was with me during the search for these cribs, and that man was so polite to him, and he was so dismissive. And the first question he asked me and my homie, he was like, "How many kids y'all have?" I was like, "What? We don't got no kids. What are you talking about?" And he was like, "Over here, we're a super tight niche community, and they're like, we don't want none of the loud music. We don't fuck with that like, hip hop shit." And I was like, "Bro, we did not play any music. We're super respectful, and all that." So I think it's when I think back on the racist shit that I had to go through, it really goes down to like, I was not able to get a crib at a dire situation because of racism. So the shit is crazy, man. I mean, it affects everyone differently. And the one thing I have to note too, that there's a huge colorism problem within many communities. And I am also on the lighter side of comparatively to like the black kids who have to go through this shit, So it's like me going through that, it's so fucked, like it's shit is crazy, so.
I bet it could be pretty confusing at times too, just depending on who you're speaking with.
Definitely. Because again, not all white people are fucking evil. I don't want to get that. I'm not trying to say that, But when you're in the South, you could pick up a thing or two. And then, when you go to school in like the South, you start to like kind of realize what America is technically based off of. And, you go deeper and deeper into this shit, but it's all fucked. Race is just a made up it's all made up. It's not real. So, I mean, if you try to make it make sense, you're going to be lost in the sauce.
Yeah. One thing I could confidently say at this stage, from my experiences, I do believe there's a lot more love and there's a lot more camaraderie than what's displayed sometimes. And, I believe as long as we continue to, we love each other, we love thy neighbor, all that good stuff, it's just going to keep increasing.
Yeah,
I think it's going to keep increasing, the appreciation.
Yeah, I think the kids are definitely doing good now. I think when you see these people fighting for, everything they're fighting for right now, the way the country is, there's definitely a lot of people on our side versus back in like the 60s, you know. So I think, I think as a country, shit's still, iffy, but the people, I think they're learning and they're getting with the overall message that we gotta fight this together and we gotta be together to actually grow and continue.
Yeah, it isn't. Hey, it isn't all of us against the white people. It's like, anybody that has that hate and malice, we uniting against y'all. Like, we ain't really rocking with the people still holding on to those values. And so to continue on with the Bad Bunny, man, I love it. I was saying he's having like, this is his views year. Like what views was for Drake, Un Verano Sin Ti's for Bad Bunny. Like, it's ridiculous seeing how many people loving him. The people that don't even speak Spanish.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I see these little babies jamming to his music. And they don't even speak English. They don't speak nothing. And they bump to the Bad Bunny. And they know that Bad Bunny song. So I think I love it. I'd love to see it. I wish more people, go in the same footsteps he's in. And also, you said he's similar in the Drake's Views era. But I think he just outsold Drake. I think he's one of the biggest on like Spotify, if I'm not wrong.
He's broken a lot of records. He's broken Drake's views records for the most number one weeks going. I think he has like 15, 16 plus weeks at the number one spot.
Yeah, I think it was like 5 weeks. He sold over 200,000.
Probably. I wouldn't doubt it, man. Like, this man commercially insane, but the way he's been able to stay genuine to who he is, especially in the music, you gotta love it. You gotta appreciate it.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah. So to take a couple steps back, we're going to be wrapping it up slowly. Business, being able to handle business. How have you grown in this space, whether it's you or your manager contacting certain entities or they contacting you? How have you grown in this?
Yeah, to be honest, all the work I've done, they approached me. So I don't really do any cold calling or do I like seek opportunities.
Let's hear about it one more time. They approach you, man.
Yeah.
Let's hear about it one more time.
They approach me. You feel me? So I think, that ties into consistency and where you post. Because the more you post, the more people have eyes on it. And a lot of times when I post on Instagram, Twitter, it ends up being on like Pinterest or some other scope of the internet that I haven't even touched. So it's just having a digital footprint, with your name attached, so my name is always in bold, Shane Ramos, and I realized that the name is maybe bigger, if not second biggest to my artistry right now. Cause it's one thing seeing my work, but it's another being able to tie in my name with it. So it's about how can I have a everlasting style that people could differentiate from,
Yeah, and not only that, but whenever you look at some of the biggest companies, some of the biggest establishments in America, it's usually a last name. Like, whether we're talking about Berkshire, whether we're talking about other various last names, like, having your name as part of the branding, it really stands out. It's like you said, as much as the art is memorable, it's like the Shane Ramos. That also sticks too.
Yeah, I think also another huge thing, if you're a visual artist, if you're a rapper, if you're a musician, singer, anything, you need to have a business email in your bio. There's
business email in the bio.
Yeah. The DMs are all good, but when it comes to contracts and all that, you need to have an email, So I think if you just learn one thing from this podcast is to have a business email in your bio. Usually what people do when they approach me for a potential project is that they email me, they give me, a brief summary of what they're needing, what they want. At times, they will give me a mood board of the pieces I've made in the past. And from there,
And a question.
Yeah.
What's a mood board?
A mood board. So it's basically a collection of pieces I've made. They put maybe in like a PowerPoint, a quick presentation, and they're like, hey, okay, we want this overall vibe, So like maybe the colors of this piece you made and the style of that. We want textures of this, you know? So just give me a good understanding of what they're looking for. And
Okay.
yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That made sense.
Yeah. And then from there, if everything sounds good, we're like, all right, cool, we'll send over the contract. And then the contract, another thing, if you're an artist, a visual artist, singer, rapper, read your contracts. Contracts are very dangerous. It's usually not meant for people, everyday people. There's people who go to college just to be able to read contracts, you know? So I think for your own sake, do your due diligence and read your contracts. And not only that, I recommend having someone else review it too, or review it. You know, 4 eyes is better than 2. You know, even if you have a homie who he's not the best at reading, or you know, have a parent who you maybe you hate reading. It does not matter. Just you're there to help yourself and make sure you're not in a bad situation. And not all contracts are, but just to help yourself in the future. All contracts are not good, and not all contracts are bad. So I think just do your due diligence and make sure you read them. So once the contract looks good, they might send you an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, so you can't talk about it until it's finished. And if everything looks good, we do it, and then we start the processing part of everything. So they pretty much give you a file, be like, all right, fill in your taxes, fill in your billing address, your name, etc. And then from there, this is where the payment starts. So a lot of people, they want to do payment once it's done. But for me, I don't like doing that. So I do a minimum half payment upfront, half when it's done. When it comes to corporate work, I believe
corporate work, we want that 50% off the rip, and then 50 when it's done.
Exactly. I believe that you should get paid upfront, but there's compromise in business. So once we agree and everything works, you're gonna get hit with a net 30 or a net 60. So before you celebrate,
what is that? What is a net 30 and a net 60?
So before you celebrate the money you just got, you're not gonna get it either from net 30, which is 30 days, or net 60 days out. And that's after it gets processed. So once you turn in your tax info and your billing address and all that, after it's processed, then that will start. So you might have a huge project this month. You're not going to get the money this month. Or maybe you get half up front if you ask about it, So before you splurge as an artist and you realize that it didn't hit your bank, save yourself some problems and just wait till it fully clears and goes in your bank account, and just play it safe. I think as a freelance artist, you need to realize that a lot of this shit is on a daily basis type of deal, like a monthly basis shit. So I suggest stacking up your dough. Be careful what you spend on, and to stack 2 or 3 months of rent. Just really get your money up, and then you can start splurging on yourself. Because this is a scary scene to be in. It takes a lot of balls to be in this shit. So
yeah, I've seen a couple of horror stories, and it's not good. Doing some work and not getting paid for a number of months, or potentially not even getting paid at all, depending how things were structured.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is ultimately, we're in the business for people to make money off of us. So I think that's with relationships and everything. There are gonna be really genuine relationships. You're gonna work with these people, and everything's gonna be great. Everything's smooth, contracts look good, at the end payment looks good, and everything, and it's mutual respect. But then there are people who's gonna see you as fast cash, and they're gonna try to fuck you over. But that's where you do your due diligence. Make sure you read everything. Make sure you do research on the people contacting you, because some people think that you're not important as an artist, but then they're coming to you for the work. So I think you just have to, continue to stay 10 toes down and really understand your worth as an artist. And
your
yeah,
worth. And at the same time, when it comes to clients, if if they're coming a bit disrespectful or treating you like, you just some random person, you don't have to accept them, right?
exactly. I think the whole thing is like, yo, in this business, I'm in it so I don't have to work a regular 9 to 5 and get disrespected on a daily.
Mhm.
I wasn't fine with that back in my 9 to 5 days, and I'm not fine with it now. If you don't show me mutual respect, then I can't do business with you. And I think that should be the that should be what business is. But when you go to areas like LA, you're gonna be you're gonna be proven wrong if you think everything is just all fun and games. So the one thing I want to add is that once you get these projects and you're making thousands of dollars off of one project, I want to make sure that you make an LLC,
Mm.
because when tax season comes and you're making $1,000 off of one project, tax is gonna fuck you over. Because if you're a solo and if you're not under a business entity, tax
And
is
you're
way
under,
different.
yeah, if you're under sole propriety.
Exactly. So when it comes to the point when you're now making more than hundreds of dollars on a monthly basis, LLC is the way to go.
All right. Yeah. Not to cut you off, but yeah, I think the past 2 months, I had to get all that in order. I'm like, yo, let me take this, not just officially, but let me handle it in the business attitude, setting up almost hit my face on the mic, setting up the LLC, everything that comes with it, the EIN numbers.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, from the start, make sure we have the business email. That way, communication, we ain't trying to get it confused with text message, regular email. Whenever you get into contact with a company reaching out to you, understand the contract, have somebody else read it with you, understand everything that's in there. And, as far as payments, we ain't trying to get paid about 3 months, 4 months, or never get paid. Make sure,
Yeah.
whether it's, you understand it's the net 30, net 60, whether you need some money now, and then at the end of the deal that you understand when the payments due.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
and
and
then
make sure you get your money no matter what. Sometimes these corporate places, they act as if, oh no, you don't exist. And we did do that. Nah, just if you're owed something, you get your money because you deserve it. So sometimes you gotta speak up and sometimes you gotta speak with authority, and some people don't like that. But this is your money we're talking about. This is your livelihood. That this is how you live. So you make everything count.
Absolutely, man. And that was also important too, understanding that, hey, you can make money without doing the papers officially, but setting up the LLC, understanding the business and the taxes that come with it. Because the IRS already taking our money for everything. You gotta make sure that you save as much money as possible, because the IRS gonna be after you.
Exactly, man.
They don't care if you already used up the money. It's like, hey, we need our tax money back. And all right, on the business aspect now, let's talk about the 30 days of t-shirts. Man, I was so hyped when I seen the fact that I was like, yo, your art is going to be on t-shirts. I was like, I finally gonna be able to wear it. I instantly, when I saw the pimp butterfly on the black t-shirt, I'm copying it. No hesitation, I'm copying it. And I'm loving it, wearing it right now, by the way.
Damn, that's
Loving
love,
this
bro. I
t-shirt.
appreciate you, man. Yeah, that's real love. And it was.
Yeah,
Dude,
so
that
break
was
that. Yeah,
sorry.
break down. No, my fault. Let me search it better. So, what pushed you to finally go, the clothing route with your art? What was that process like? And being able to have your art on clothing, how does it all just feel, man?
Man, it's been so many years put into this shit. Back when I was 16, that's all I really wanted. If you're an artist and if you love hip hop, you want to do clothing. That's just the natural scope of things. And
100%.
being able to now have people wear my clothes in countries I've never been in or some places I can't even pronounce is bizarre. And also having certain pieces having art by Shane Ramos is bizarre too. To support got me humble, grateful, all of it, man. It's, as much as y'all see the grind behind the scenes, man, it's tough, just to survive out here at times, but all of it was worth it. And when November, December came through, and when I started dropping it all, I then realized, like, oh my gosh, we have something here. Like, this is like too real. You know, like what I going in, I was like, all right, man. Hopefully, I could sell one or two, maybe three shirts, because I just did not know how would it go.
Mm-hmm.
But like day one, unbelievable. Like completely took away all my
All expectations is blown.
expectations. Crazy. Like there's some like people who bought 20 shirts in one go. You know, and like
That's love. That's
it's
love.
it's crazy, man. Like I said, the amount of time that I had to work on myself as an artist and all just to put this shit out, you know, and before the full drop of everything, it was just a thought, and then maybe like 2 weeks before, I was like, all right, well, we should do this now. You know, it's about to hit November, December, and I think this is the time. You know, and we've been putting out prints. We did posters. I even put out stickers and all that.
I
But
appreciate the poster too, by the way.
oh man, it's all love again. Like I don't want to sound like saying the same thing, but man, like that's true support.
Let's keep repeating it, man. Let's keep repeating it. Let's keep
Yeah.
speaking of it. You know, the same appreciation I'm giving to you, because you know, you did it. You did it. Every moment of your life has led up to where you're at right now, and it's, you know, we ain't just gonna celebrate it once, two. We're gonna celebrate it every chance we get, because you know, tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Yeah, man, I love hearing
Tomorrow's
that,
not
man.
guaranteed. Yeah, so loving the shirts, the way you did it to the 30 days, and initially every day you release. All right, so a bit of context here for you guys listening. The shirts didn't all drop at once. It was throughout the period of a month. A new design that Shane made will release on a shirt. So every day it will be a new design. And I love the marketing behind that, because it wasn't just like, hey, I got shirts, go cop them. It was like, hey, this artist shirt dropped today. Tomorrow it's gonna be a new one. And then you will post work relating to that artist. So it was like every day was almost like an event. It was like a theme. And I thought that was just genius on the marketing side of it.
I love hearing that, man, because like I said, like we're a 2-man team out here, and I do all the creatives, and then my manager does all the logistics side of things. You know, like all the numbers and, you know, emails and all that. So what you see when it comes to marketing is all me, you know, and the amount of work I had to put into all that. Probably we started with the idea of we should do 30 for 30, probably mid-November. So we had like 2 weeks to do this whole 30-day drop. And I do have some older pieces that I turned into t-shirts. Like for example, like there's some popular ones like the Flower Boy, my older Mac Miller pieces. You know, that grew so much to the point where I see it online and they don't know it's me. You know, so I was like, all right, this is a good time to, you know, finally put the name to the pieces and for people to wear. And not gonna lie though, as much planning as you can do with my busy schedule, working with these clients and try to post every day, there's a lot of shirts, maybe half of it, I had to make the night before. You know, so it was a challenge with itself.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, like the whole, I try to make a piece every day for like a year. That went back in tuition. You know, like I was in the same predicament I was in like years ago. And it was a challenge. I was like, can I really do this? So can I do a pre-post of a mock-up of the shirts and then do a little like a piece with like Andre? I would write the pricing. I would write the artist's name and whatever it correlates to the artist and me. And then I would have a final mock-up of the t-shirt and then the design of the t-shirt, an up-close design of it. So it was a lot of fucking work. And there's a lot of nights where I did not sleep. Maybe I slept 30 minutes. I slept an hour.
But man, what sleep at that point?
Exactly, man. Yeah, shit was rough. But I got motivated every day when more and more people were like, yo, I'm copping. And it's not necessarily, oh, yo, people are buying it and I'm seeing the cash, but more so like, yo, people are now able to wear a piece of me in the real world. You know, so there'll be I remember I started with one of the DMX's shirts. I put Mary J. Blige as a t-shirt. I had a Locks t-shirt. I had Bad Bunny. But a lot of the t-shirts of artists from Yonkers, I added Yonkers details within it. So there's some people in like South Africa who have a DMX shirt and they have a part of where I'm from and they don't know anything about it and they might not even know it's Yonkers. So, so I think in that aspect too, it's bizarre because now I feel like Yonkers is now being expanded by not just the bad old Yonkers, and bringing new light to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, man, it's
and
crazy.
And for those people that are listening to this right now, they're learning even more. I know they're probably like, hey, let me look at my shirt real quick. Let me look at the bits and pieces, from your own life that are continuing to live with somebody else's body, man. That it really is ridiculous. And I was excited, man, because like I said, I've been following since 2018. That's whenever I discovered the Shane Ramos, and I've just been following him all the way up until now. So when I saw the shirts we were releasing, I'm like, finally, this is a time. And then just recently, you released the LA shorts.
Yeah, the LA New York shorts.
Yes, United Struggle. You got the Statue of Liberty in the lower right-hand side. You got the peace sign. So tell us about the shorts, man.
Yeah, man. I think me as an artist, I want to have a branch of me doing what I gotta do with the comes up corporate side of things. So I want to continue doing books. I want to work with these corporations like Netflix and all that. But also, I want to make another entity of just clothing. What I consider the t-shirts and all is to be my own merch. And then these shorts are in almost in similar way merch from me,
Mm-hmm.
And to go into like the message behind the United Struggle. United Struggle is actually from a political Puerto Rican party in the U.S. back in like the 60s, I believe, and they were hand in hand with the Black Panther Party, and their whole one of their bigger mottos.
This is new to me.
Yeah, one of their bigger mottos was United Struggle, So I think that speaks, volume, and I try to put messages in my pieces without you really knowing, you needing to know what it means,
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I think even if you don't know the background of it, I think people could also get with the program with it. You know what I'm saying?
The statement itself, United Struggle, we've all come together, gone through trials and tribulations, just that idea.
Yeah. And even on the shorts, on like the top area, it says South Yonkers, and then on the LA side, it's Hollywood Boulevard, so it's where I'm from and now where I'm at. And yeah, it's more so, it's summer. I know that people want shorts. I want to try a new thing. Me and my manager, we decided to invest in it. We got a heat press, so the machine to actually press everything. And these are all one for one in a way, because we're pressing them.
Wait. Let's go back a bit. Heat press. So you yourself are making the t-shirts?
Not the t-shirts, but we're making the shorts.
Making the shorts. All right.
Yeah, because mesh, it's harder to, you can't really screen print on them. And because of the material, you gotta like do it differently. So basically a heat press is a super strong hot iron, and it's like a clasp at the top. You press it down and it gets so hot, the top layer burns into the shorts, and that makes it stick to the mesh shorts. And it essentially burns into the shorts.
All right, I'm following.
Yeah, they might be a bit detailed, but yeah, so we invested in that, and luckily enough, like the week after, everything paid off. So now, in the future with that machine, I could put out jackets, majority of what I'm needing other than shirts, with that machine. So next, I think what comes next, other than t-shirts and the shorts, I think either by the end of this month or next month, I'll be dropping hoodies.
Hoodies. We getting close to the fall. We getting close to that season. Hoodied up 24/7, and that's something to be on the lookout for. All right.
Yeah. So I considered all the things I'm doing, like the t-shirts, the shorts, and the hoodies, they're all under my merch brand. So it's, what you consider other people's merch. And then I'm also going to start rolling out cut and sew, or a little bit, heavier quality pieces, a little bit more artistic type of pieces. And that will be an expansion of my merch. So if you want to look out for certain hoodies and all that, probably in the next few months after this, I'll also be dropping a Tupac hoodie that's more on like the washed vintage side of things. And I'm just
All right.
experimenting with products. I want to be in this for the long haul. I want to end up, putting something out for summer, fall, winter, and really stick
All
with
the
everything.
seasons.
Yeah.
We trying to wear the Shane Ramos. We're trying to wear the merch. We're trying to wear everything year round.
Yeah, man. And it's love because
And
I don't really promote my clothing like that. And the past month or two, I've been getting so much love. And I'm questioning how the fuck did y'all find out about me at this page? And I'm like, bro, it's like bizarre. So pretty much how my business is set up is I have independent artists who contact me for work. I have the corporate side of things that reach out. And now this is also another entity of my business of just the ShaneRamosStore.com or ShaneRamosStore.com.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also great to see for those of you guys the Shane Ramos on Instagram. You can see right now, just looking at your followers, it isn't like you have millions, but the fact that your impact, your influence, the relationships you've built, the businesses you've done are far superior to any kind of number we can have on an algorithm. Just goes to show the impact and the love people have for what you create, man.
Yeah, man. I know that there's times where people reach out. Like for example, the designer who reached out for the Disney book, she found me throughout the different social media platforms, but she said she saw some of my pieces on Pinterest. I don't even post on Pinterest. And she was like, I be seeing you everywhere, so I feel like I need to work with you since it's everywhere. And she was like, then she said she went to her friend's crib and saw my Mac Miller poster on his wall.
Wow.
So hearing that from someone who's behind Disney and being able to work with her, I think that's bizarre. So I think majority of the support you get might be quiet. During my 30 days of t-shirts, I wasn't getting thousands of likes on every post. Maybe I was getting 100, 150, 200, 300, 400, but that does not disregard all the support who's actually buying everything. Like a lot of people want to support silently, so don't get mixed up with the numbers. Numbers on social media does not mean money in the real world. It does not relate to dollars. So I'd say if you want to put out clothing and all that, just start. Just start. That's the best thing I can say to you.
Definitely. No, that's definitely great insight, great advice. And the way life just be going full circle, man. From her going to somebody else's crib and seeing your work in there too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and for those of you guys listening to right now, ShaneRamosStore.com. Not only can you get the shirts, not only can you get the shorts, but you could get the prints.
Yep, and stickers. And yeah.
Prints, stickers, and posters.
Yep.
Big posters. Yep. We could get them all right there as well. And man, I'm excited for the hoodies. I'm loving seeing what you're doing with the shorts. And I know in the future, I'm going to cop a couple more shirts. Definitely.
It's love, bro.
One last question, man. So for the next 5 years, you already spoke about some of the stuff you have for the future, but what do you see yourself in about 5 years?
Man, 5 times bigger in every aspect.
5 times bigger
minimum.
Aspect.
So I think I still want to take it day by day because, I think you don't want to get lost in the sauce. Like it's good to have bigger goals, but understand that it takes a lot to get there. And I think Nipsey Hussle, he talked about it. He said perfect timing feels like it's too late. So when you think and when you want everything to happen, it might not happen. But don't lose hope. Continue and, trust the process. That's the biggest thing growing up. My old art teacher would say, trust the process. And throughout my time in this space, I've learned just to trust the process. What you want is not what you need at times, So I want to be able to expand my business on the corporate side. I want to expand my company as a clothing brand. I want to end up, hopefully within the next couple years to expand to an actual warehouse. I want to make figurines. I want to dabble in furniture. I want to do so much. Yeah, it's so I'll be putting out fitteds. I want to make my own jeans. There's so
see it all.
Yeah, everything I wear or I like on a daily basis, I want to create. So it's pretty much endless, man. I also been working on making a art gallery space for other
Mm-hmm.
artists and like myself. So in the future, I want to host galleries. So there's a lot of moving parts of it, but when everything happens, it will happen on time. So
That's right. That's right. We all in our own perfect time. And I just, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today. Um, Man, time's flowed by, giving us the journey up until this point, some of the obstacles you face, ways to structure yourself, how to handle business accordingly, and the various aspects of your life from, growing up in Yonkers, going to Tennessee, to what you're doing right now, how it all crafted the person who is Shane. And yo, shout out to your manager too. We gotta give it a round of applause. And thank you. And I can't wait to continue to see not just what you're gonna be doing soon, but the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years where we're gonna
yeah,
be at.
man. I want to extend the love to you too, though. I've been seeing you. You're on your grind. Like you said, you've been doing this since 2018. Your numbers have been going up. Your support's been going up. It's mutual love and respect on this side. Even you going to your reels, that's love, bro. Like you're really doing your thing out here, and you're growing, and I love to see it. So as excited as you are for me, I am for you. So there's always gonna be love out here, and I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. Love hearing that. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. And then well, y'all, we'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.